Welcome to the Rebound Rewind Power Tower. This tower has 30 floors and we're going to find out who is at the top floor and who's at the bottom. The ranking for this tower is NBA starting backcourts heading into the 2022-23 NBA season. Without further ado, let's begin. In 30th place at the lobby of the Power Tower is the Spurs with their starting backcourt including Trae Jones and Devin Vassell. The Spurs are clearly in rebuild mode after trading Dejounte Murray, and this current duo has plenty of future potential, but a lot of learning is needed before they could be ranked higher. This would be Trae's first starting season, and Devin showed a lot of promise in last season, averaging over 12 points per game, but who really knows how well they work together as starters for a full season. In 29th place on the second floor is the Magic, with the backcourt duo including Markelle Fultz and Jalen Suggs. The Orlando Magic, like the Spurs, are in a rebuild. I will say that this is more of a wild card. Jalen could improve from his promising rookie season, and who really knows if Markelle Fultz is ready to shock the world or if this is another season of playing the first dozen games then missing the rest. In 28th place is the Pacers starting backcourt with Tyrese Haliburton and Bennedict Mathurin. If Tyrese can stay healthy and if Mathurin does well as he did in Summer League, the Pacers backcourt may be ranked higher by the end of the season, but there are still more questions than answers at this point. I do think in 2 or 3 seasons, Mathurin can be a very dangerous player for opposing teams in the future. In 27th place are the Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Evan Fournier. Jalen had a promising season with the Mavs last season, but if we're being realistic, we need to ask ourselves, how much of that was him playing second fiddle to Luka versus how much of that was his own personal impact? Now, the second question you gotta ask yourself is, wouldn't you want Jalen at the 2, but of course you wouldn't want Evan Fournier at the 1 spot. He's a 6'7" small forward / shooting guard, whereas Jalen is more of your combo guard. This is not to bash either of the players' talents. They're both pretty great players. I'm just kind of questioning the fit here from the Knicks' GM perspective. What I will say is with the small sample size we saw at the end of the 2022 season when Luka had that mid-injury, Jalen did a great job holding the fort down, which proves he can play without him at least. But again, it's not a full season, the sample size is small, though we'll find out this upcoming season. In 26th place is the Kings with De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter. Kevin spent his career in Atlanta so far, so we don't know how well this duo will mesh just yet, but there is a lot of potential here. Though De'Aaron Fox is doing most of the heavy lifting in this backcourt. Also, this duo isn't that efficient, but they do have size, with Kevin being 6'7", and they have athleticism, with Fox being one of the fastest players in the league, which is great. At 24th place is the Los Angeles Lakers with the possibility of Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley. The hardest part about this ranking is that we don't really know if this is going to be the starting backcourt come NBA tip-off time in October. There are so many Westbrook rumors going on right now, but if this is the Lakers duo that they're rolling with, we got 2 33-year-old players who are good but probably no longer in their peak physical primes officially. Westbrook, while gets a lot of hate, is still a very athletic player who knows how to make the right passes, and Patrick is still a great defender, but there isn't a lot of offense worth bragging about in this duo if we're being brutally honest. In 25th place, we have the Utah Jazz, Mike Conley and Colin Sexton. The young bull Colin Sexton, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people in the coming years, and Mike Conley is going to be 35 this October. This duo is like the right team in the wrong time. If Sexton develops into an all-star caliber player and he had, say, prime Mike Conley, this backcourt would have been ranked much higher. Of course, losing Spider-Man is also what dropped the Jazz so low in this ranking. In 23rd place, we have the Houston Rockets with Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green. In 3 or 4 years, if this duo sticks together, this could honestly be a top 10 backcourt in the future. For now, there's still a lot of development needed. Both players have exciting futures if Houston keeps a good environment in place. Both can score, but they need to work on their defense if they want to be ranked higher. In 22nd place, we have the Detroit Pistons, which is a huge question mark simply because come tip-off time, is Kemba Walker going to be wearing a Pistons jersey? It's really hard to say. I don't think the Pistons want their top 5 draft pick to come off the bench with Jaden Ivey, so the duo I am ranking is Cade and Jaden, but to be fair, if it is Kemba and Cade, then on paper that backcourt will be ranked higher than this current backcourt that I'm ranking, though realistically, I think we see Kemba play for another team come October. As for Cade and Jaden, Jaden's Summer League debut was shorter than expected due to the injury scare with his ankle, but on the bright side, from the sample size we got, I will say that the Ja Morant comparisons are fair. Maybe a little too early, but fair for sure. Jaden is insanely athletic, and he should be good to go health-wise come tip-off time. In 21st place is the Milwaukee Bucks with Jrue Holiday and Grayson Allen. I have nothing bad to say about Jrue Holiday or Grayson Allen. They are both solid NBA players. With that being said, the Bucks' true power comes in their front court, which is fine. Jrue and Grayson are good players, but as a duo, this is above average at best. More critically, just average. Don't take that the wrong way. The Bucks have a great team, and Jrue at his best is a near all-star caliber player. Grayson also has potential in the future, but beyond that, there isn't much jaw-dropping things I have to say about this duo. Other than maybe saying that Holiday is a pretty good two-way player, which is quite rare in this league, especially for point guards these days. In 20th place, we have the Denver Nuggets with Jamal Murray and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and really the only reason why the Nuggets are ranked so low is that we truly don't know how Jamal will rebound from his ACL injury. If he returns to form, I would end up ranking this duo higher by the end of the season, but in truth, we don't know for sure if he's going to return as a shell of his former self or if he will improve from what we saw in the previous seasons. It's still a question, so critically we gotta rank this team a little bit lower as far as their backcourt is concerned. In 19th place, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder with Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. As a duo, this backcourt averages 37 points per game, which is solid, but could definitely be improved. Josh will be entering his second season, and Shai will be entering his fifth. Once they both reach their true primes, this could potentially be a top 10, maybe even top 5 backcourt if they stay on the same team and continue to stay healthy and improve their games. In 18th place is the New Orleans Pelicans with CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. CJ McCollum surprised the NBA and fit quite well with the Pelicans, but the dynamic of this team could certainly be different once Zion is on the front court with this backcourt in play. How this will affect the backcourt specifically is up for question, but I do believe it'd be more of a positive influence than a negative one, considering opposing defenses would now have to worry more so of the front court scoring. Last season, this duo averaged 47 points per game, but CJ only played 26 games last season as a Pelican, so who knows if they can hold down an entire season with this average, especially with sharing the rock with Zion. But I don't think less scoring from this backcourt would necessarily make it worse, just different. In 17th place, we do have the Miami Heat, but in all honesty, how you want the rotation of its starting backcourt would drastically affect how you rank the starting backcourt. For example, if you run Tyler Hero instead of Max Strus at the starting 5, you could rank this team higher. Or if you run Jimmy Butler at the 2 instead of the 3, then of course the duo of Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler goes way higher. But while in Miami, Jimmy is most certainly the starting small forward, though he has played a lot of shooting guard on previous teams. In conclusion, if we are being strict and realistic with how the Heat starts their backcourt, the duo is most likely Kyle Lowry and Max Strus. This is a good duo and it works best for the Heat team, but on paper, it's not the best backcourt. Not that on paper matters, but if we were to rank things, I think the middle is a fair spot, especially since Kyle is now 36, pushing 37 soon. In 16th place is the Wizards with Monte Morris and Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting for this duo, but Morris is a solid NBA player. Sure, he's not an all-star caliber player, but he's not chop liver either. I would even rank this duo higher on Beal's star power alone, but there are some roadblocks. Firstly, this is a really small backcourt, and thus will have some defensive problems. Monte is 6'2 and Beal is 6'3, but on the flip side, their offense should be a great show, especially if Beal is having a good shooting night. In 15th place is the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo Ball and Scary Terry Rozier. Last season, this backcourt combined for nearly 40 points per game, and we should easily see more of the same. LaMelo is entering his third season, and I think it's time for him to really step up and take the next level of being the franchise-level talent that this team really needs. LaMelo is a 6'7 point guard, and Terry is a 6'1 combo guard. LaMelo is so good at shooting that you could easily run both as combo guards. This backcourt has a lot of interchangeability. In 14th place, we have the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris, though to be fair, it is possible that this backcourt can look slightly different come NBA tip-off time, but this is most likely the starting backcourt as of this upload. Individually, Kyrie Irving is no question one of the best active point guards in the game today, but as a combined starting duo of Kyrie and Joe Harris, this duo is nice, but in terms of the backcourt specifically, there's nothing jaw-dropping aside from Kyrie Irving, of course. Joe is a great three-point shooter and a good floor spacer, but his game is a bit one-dimensional. Now, it is possible you can run Ben Simmons at the point and have Kyrie play the 2, but really Ben fits better on the front court, so I wouldn't want to do that here. In 13th place, we have the Trailblazers with Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons. The hardest part about ranking the Blazers is that Damian only played 29 games last season, and while Simons had a really improved season by more than doubling his point per game average from 8 to 17, how much of that was having so many extra shooting opportunities and buckets available while Damian was off the court? And how well will Damian return from his injury? He is 32, and while technically still in his prime, his true physical prime might be behind him if he likes it or not. Regardless, Damian is still one of the best point guards in the game, and Simons has learned a lot from Damian. His play style is very similar, and they mesh well together from what we've seen so far. I do believe his scoring increase is beyond just having more open shots with Damian off the court, but only time will tell how they will truly mesh with a new full season together. In 12th place, we have the Raptors with Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. This is an amazing backcourt. They nearly average 40 points per game as a duo. I am going to be pickier as we're getting closer and closer to the top 10. This duo only averages a combined 8.7 assists per game, which is way too low for me. There are so many players who get more assists alone as a single player, let alone combined for a starting backcourt. Now don't get the wrong idea here, I'm not bashing Fred or Gary. This is a great backcourt, but there's just too much competition going forward as we enter that top 10 area. In 11th place, we have the Timberwolves with D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. With Patrick Beverley out of the rotation since he's now in the Lakers, this backcourt has less defensive toughness but far more scoring opportunities, with Russell getting more playing time alongside Anthony. These two can now grow together and get better as Anthony reaches his prime. I would really like to put this duo in the top 10, but we might be 1 or 2 seasons away as that man continues to improve and actually enter his prime. And now we enter that top 10. In 10th place is the 76ers with Tyrese Maxey and James Harden. James Harden is 33 years old, so this isn't MVP James Harden, but he's still one of the best shooting guards in the game today. And Tyrese Maxey has a ton of potential as he just came off of a 17.5 point per game season, entering his 3rd NBA season at just 21 years old. He has a bright future ahead of him. This will be their first full season together, so statistically their averages could look a little different, but I have a lot of confidence in this backcourt. In 9th place, we have the Chicago Bulls with Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine. Now, Lonzo Ball is expected to miss training camp and is doubtful to return for the beginning of this upcoming season due to his left knee, but he's not ruled out for the season, so likely this should be the starting backcourt for the majority of next season, assuming both players return healthy. With that in mind, there is a lot of good things about this backcourt. They got size, speed, and know how to share the ball. They're both pretty good two-way players, and Zach is an elite scorer. I would rank this duo higher, but it's really hard to tell how well Lonzo will return from his injury. In 8th place, we have the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic and Tim Hardaway Jr. Luka has the body of a forward, but runs the point for this team. As a duo, this backcourt averages 42.6 points per game, and Tim Hardaway Jr. mostly came off the bench last season. With Jalen Brunson out of the rotation, there's a lot more scoring opportunities for Tim to take on, but let's see if he could step up to that next level as a full-time starter. Luka is heavily carrying this backcourt. Even with that being said, he's an MVP caliber player, so obviously he's going to crack that top 10. In 7th place is the Celtics with Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown. This is one of the best two-way backcourts in all of basketball. Smart, of course, was a Defensive Player of the Year last year, and Jaylen Brown had one of his best seasons yet, coming off a 23.6 point per game season. Now, the real Celtics duo is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but Tatum is more of a small forward, and if he is in the backcourt, he's playing the 2 with Brown on the bench. We don't really see them both on the same court as backcourt players, especially not on a regular basis. In 6th place, we have the Clippers with John Wall and Paul George. Honestly, if John Wall returns to his prime all-star form, this ranking could easily be a top 3 backcourt. But if John Wall is a shell of his former self and Paul George continues to get older and starts to fade from his true prime, this backcourt could actually be ranked lower, but I'm optimistic about this backcourt, and I think John is very determined to prove the world wrong after so many teams have doubted his talent. In 5th place, we have the Hawks with Trae Young and Dejounte Murray. This backcourt would be nearly impossible to guard. When Trae was all alone, some teams can get away with double teaming him, but now that the Hawks have all-star power on both positions, good luck trying that anymore. And while the sample size is small, we did see them play together in the Crossover Pro League, and from what we saw, get ready for this duo to shock the league come NBA tip-off time. In 4th place, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Now offensively, you can talk all day about how unstoppable this backcourt would be. Neither player are in their true prime yet, and both are all-star caliber talents and lights-out scorers. The biggest question will be defense, as this is one of the shortest backcourts in basketball. Both Mitchell and Garland are 6'1". Well, of course, their offensive abilities are doing most of the heavy lifting for this ranking. Now, to get technical with the defense, point guards did have an average defensive rating of around 113 in 2022. Garland had a defensive rating of 112, and Mitchell had a defensive rating of 111.4, which are both about a point above average, and I think that's pretty good considering their size. So what you're getting out of this backcourt is elite offense with average defense. And overall, not many backcourts have star power caliber talent on both guard positions. We have the Grizzlies with Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. This duo averages an insane 45.6 points per game, one of the highest scoring backcourts in the NBA. This duo is athletic, has range, and two-way play. This duo is super young. Ja's entering his 4th season, and Bane is entering his 3rd. In 1 or 2 seasons, this will easily be the best backcourt in the NBA. They are already a top 5. Neither of them are in their prime yet. They have an exciting future. In 2nd place, we have the Warriors with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. If this was peak prime Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, this is one of the best backcourts of all time in the entire history of basketball. Steph Curry is 34, pushing 35, and Klay post-injury is not the same player. They are still great, but this isn't 2016 Steph Curry and Klay. The Warriors are still certainly title contenders, and you can argue both players are still in their prime, but not their peak prime, as in the absolute best of each player. I hate to say it, but I think 2016 MVP Steph Curry and 2016 Klay are in 2016 and not in 2022-2023. That doesn't mean either are elite players, but it means that Father Time is undefeated and these guys are getting older. And at our top floor, in 1st place, we have the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. How is Chris Paul at age 37 still a part of the best backcourt in the NBA, you might be thinking? Well, firstly, Paul is still playing at a high level, but of course he's not playing at his peak prime, and as far as the next season goes, a lot of this credit is going to be headed towards Devin Booker's play, who is only 25, and he's already one of, if not the best shooting guards in the NBA today. This duo averaged an insane 41.5 points per game and 15.6 assists per game, one of the best in the entire NBA. Most duos are good at one thing, whether that's scoring, passing, or defense, but this is one of the only NBA duos that are good at all facets of the game, from offense to defense. Booker hasn't entered his true prime yet, so even though Chris Paul is exiting his prime, but still really good, Booker is picking up where Paul is dropping off, and by dropping off, so far it's a soft landing, as again, he's still a pretty good point guard. So here's every NBA starting backcourt ranked from worst to best for this upcoming season. Let me know what you think of this list and what you want to see in the future. Don't forget to dunk on that like button and subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm Rebound Rewind, and I'll fast forward to you later.